The level of secondhand embarrassment that watching George gave me in this week's episode of Spy Family was probably some of the most extreme I've experienced today. Because I'm not gonna lie, if you watched the previous video I did on Spy Family, you know how much I enjoyed the bullshit that was Discount Lloyd, the Discount Twilight, that whole fake agent shenanigans trying to manipulate the score papers, comedy gold. I thought there's no topping that. But I'm not gonna lie, watching George in this episode and the bullshit that he put these characters through only to come back the next day was such a level of embarrassment that the whole school goes from basically the Grinch who stole Christmas singing around a Christmas tree giving him presents to completely hating his guts. That shit left me in tears, man. Now, full live reaction is available on the Patreon. I was dying watching this episode, video proof there as well. But I have to say, this is what I love about Spy Family, is you never know what's going to be like your favorite thing that you've seen in a Spy Family episode. Because if you would have told me this Hammerhead looking character, because seriously, anyone who's seen Hammerhead from Spider-Man, George is literally the miniature version of that. I would have said, if you told me that he would be like my favorite part of a Spy Family episode, I would have said you're smoking some crazy shit because there's no way. But to see how quickly we get the confirmation that the lunatic we met last week was hired by a kid who gave 3 weeks worth of allowance. So on one hand, kid got ripped off, right? Kid got ripped off for the help that he ended up hiring because he was just not a good spy in the slightest. But most importantly, I also think it goes to show that if you were actually hiring someone with talent, you would probably need more than 3 weeks of a rich kid's allowance to be able to get paid. Because I guarantee you Twilight wouldn't have accepted 3 weeks payment for potentially, sabotaging and getting caught in all this extreme shit. But I love the fact that George, he tries to just destroy Damien because from his point of view, because he's a kid and he misunderstood. And something I've constantly complimented about this show is that Anya feels like a kid and she makes childlike mistakes. George is the perfect example of that. He mishears and he only gets a bit of information and he thinks his dad's company is going to shut down and it's all because of Damien and his family, so if I sabotage them, everything will be better, so maybe I'll get his kid expelled. And to see how quickly he just gets reversed, and he's like, you know what, I can't tear this guy down. I was waiting the whole episode for him to continue to do like that smug smirk and he would still try to screw over Damien. No, instead it was just this like cringy, like everyone was just kind of embarrassed about what he was going through, to the point that they eventually got emotionally moved to the point of giving him gifts as he parts ways and he leaves his Eden, as he says, to just have it all crumble. This is what I love about this show, is that it is so simple on paper, but the execution after execution of all these jokes and simple moments, it leaves for a perfect 10 out of 10 episode. And seriously, that's all you needed for this episode to be great. You didn't need to add in the amazing Mama Yor stuff, but that's just like the bow on the package or the icing on the cake that didn't need it to begin with, but just makes it all the sweeter. But I love the fact that with George, he just constantly has characters look at him being like, what the hell? There's multiple shots where you not only have Anya, you have Damien, his 2 lackeys, and Becky, with the same goddamn reaction, looking at what he's saying as what in the actual hell. And if you have all these characters who are so polar opposite giving you the same WTF face, you know the character's just, he's loopy or got some screws loose in his head. And I just love seeing the characters respond as they slowly opened up, everyone but Anya, of course. When they were singing, she was still deadpan, like, what the hell? And when everyone was basically talking shit like, you better pay me back for the juice box, I want my things back, Anya's just basically just waiting for her leaf back, I guess, at that point. But it was great. That shit was just left me rolling. I love how characters, I thought, because they start the episode off, you see his dad and then you see him, and I'm like, oh, these are just like some evil scumbag characters. Like, that's just the design, the feel I get from them. And then quickly we get into this, like, they're building up this, like, familia bond where, like, even if we don't see each other, just think of my, my rich writing utensils. You can always think of me and keep up with your studies, to coming in the next day knowing that you beyond messed up and there's probably no hope in healing those wounds. And that shit left me rolling, man. That was just, I thought there's no way you're gonna make me laugh harder than last week when you introduced Discount Wish version Twilight. But holy shit, leave it to Spy Family. They just continue to blow me away to the point where I'm like, this is my new favorite point. But the Mama Yor stuff was great as well. So what I like about Yor is if you were to really look at the way she is and the way Anya is, you would be convinced they were biologically mother and daughter. You have moments where they're both trying to see each other and they keep looking in the opposite direction. The clumsiness, the cluelessness, and just the way they overreact and have that hyperreactive imagination. She thinks Anya's, if she doesn't have her gym shorts, she'll end up skipping class and become a delinquent. That's exactly how Anya's mind works. And the fact that they're so similar, it just makes that mother-daughter bond all the sweeter, as she's trying desperately to give her something that she forgot. And, you know, she's thinking, well, if she forgot it, she'll get in trouble. Constantly the bolts, you know, she doesn't want her to get expelled. So she's climbing up buildings. Kids are literally scared shitless because she looks like a menace. And I love how Anya just looks at her as like the disappointed mom in that scene, like, it's not gym class today, and just pats her on the back. I love the fact that in such a short amount of time, they reinforce that she is best mama. Yeah, she makes mistakes, but if it really was gym day, Anya would have been saved because of that. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing on your side because she didn't realize, but the fact that she went out of her way to make sure that Anya wouldn't get in trouble because she cares about Anya's well-being that much, you know, for her to, she just feels like a proper mom, and she always beats herself down. And then you have Lloyd who will say, well, if she thinks she's a failure, then the mission will fail. But the reason he helps her is because he loves her too. It is such a wholesome family that on paper should be fake, should just be for the mission. But from Lloyd, from a father, from a husband, from mother to daughter, all those connections, they feel more and more genuine as the episodes progress. And that's why we love Spy Family, is that it should be such a ridiculous premise on paper, but it's legit one of the best family stories I've seen in the anime medium, surrounded by some amazing laughs, some incredible action, and just some really interesting plot threads that continue to connect more and more as the episodes march on. I mean, this show is fantastic. I mean, we're only a handful of episodes into the second core here, and I feel like I already love it 10 times more than I did its first batch of episodes. And if anyone's been following since those videos, you know that was my anime of the season. This is one of my new favorite animes that have ever been released, and I just love it the more I watch, and how it just never fails to make me feel happy, laughing so much, or just dying of secondhand embarrassment, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just a masterpiece of a production that still is yet to dip visually, and the VAs are still doing a great job. George's VA did a hell of a good job with his freaking out performance, and I can't wait for more. But of course, I'll pass the torch over to everyone. What did you think of this episode? Did you find the George stuff as funny as me, or was it just maybe not exactly what you were looking for, and maybe the Yor stuff was for you? Do let me know your feelings on what you're thinking, and hope to see going forward in this wonderful, wonderful anime production. So do let me know, leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Like I mentioned, you can also support the Patreon. You get to see the full live reaction to today's episode. As well, you can also get video shoutouts like a few are getting right now. We got Patrick Harris, Gwoldy8, and we have The Good Shark. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.